We round out the Patreon board with Benimation's request on a Russian-Japanese movie called The Adventures of Lolo the Penguin, known in English as Scamper the Penguin.
Penguins are very funny birds. They walk with a waddle, are shaped like a bottle.
This was originally produced by Soyuz Film and Lifework Corporation. It came as a 3-part Russian film in 1986 and a Japanese OVA in 1987. It would then receive 2 English dubs, one by Solvex Port Film, a dubber for other Russian animated media, and the other by Jim Terry Productions and Inoki Films USA. I'll be going with the Solvex Port Film dub, since it seems to keep in more footage compared to its later counterpart. But even then, there's a lot of brutal stuff that's kept in regardless. I'll bring up as much as I can, but otherwise, let's take a look at the first English dub to Lolo the Penguin. As we see the title of the movie, you'll notice the Aurora Australis in a still frame, even though the original footage shows it animated. The original had the title appear in a black background, while here we get the title over a still image. The second dub skips out on that altogether by making up their own title sequence.
Penguins are very funny birds. They walk with a waddle, are shaped like a bottle. They really look absurd.
We get a lengthy but essential scene where we learn about how penguins operate. The males help establish a nesting area, and the mothers do all the foraging. Among them are Lolo's future parents, Toto and Lala. The second dub refers to them as Gilbert and Gracie, but I'll be using the first set of names from this point on. I'm also going to call the main character Lolo throughout, even though he goes by Scamper in other versions.
Be careful! There are seagulls out there. They're ready to steal our eggs.
Don't worry, Lola. This year I'll take good care of them no matter what.
Well, hopefully this time you'll keep them safe. You sat on them too hard last year and they broke. That said, there are a lot of snowstorms in the area, and the mothers have been gone for at least a month. Some of the male penguins decide to wander off to eat, so only Toto and a few others remain.
Look! The seagulls are coming!
Oh, wait! I have a solution to this! Naturally, the seagulls swoop in and take the unguarded eggs. They actually manage to snatch one of Toto's eggs, but he manages to keep the other one safe. It's quite a sight, and the score works pretty well. And then you have this from the second dub.
They dive, they sweep, and what they catch they eat. Those sweet old birds are looking for something to eat.
Let's treat this horrific and life-threatening event with about as much class as a Disney ripoff. So yeah, the mothers return to see that they lost some eggs. Toto earlier saved another egg and passed it off as one of their own, until they noticed their neighbors having no eggs, so they decided to part with the one that he saved. So at the very least, they both have someone to raise. And soon after, the fathers are given a chance to eat, and the eggs begin to hatch, and we get our title character. Aw, he's adorable! He's named Lolo, after his great-grandfather, and with Lala, they have their own adventures. Oh wait, that's the NES game by HAL Laboratory. Well, so far there's not much to this adventure. We're only watching how penguins feed their young, or see Lolo running around.
Me more. Give me more.
And of course, we need to have Lolo ask this important question.
Mama, why do Kiki and Zizi live together? And I'm all alone.
I'm sorry, but I just didn't expect that to come out of him. Just makes it awkward for Lala to relive that moment. Thankfully, another penguin family decided to help. The mother decides to send their daughter, Pepe, who Toto rescued when it was an egg, to act as a close friend to Lolo. And shock of all shock, the two kids warm up to each other really quickly. Then, after establishing that other animals have children as well, Lolo asks why he can't go out and play. And that's because of the natural food chain, where predators feast on weaker animals. Anyway, since Toto is the leader of this group of penguins, another penguin tells him about some humans nearby. Though in the other dub, he says,
Oh, just look! The seagulls are gathering near the village!
Yeah, I don't know why they chose to change people to seagulls in this case, but regardless, the penguins are told about the humans and what they can do. The other dub cuts that part out. Instead, it focuses on a Mr. Feathers, who is supposed to be the grandfather of everybody, who used to be like Scamper.
Look at me. My adventures are past. When I look at the day, I see only the reflections of lessons I've learned, and the world seems routine. But you young man, you have been given a valuable gift. You must explore the world out there.
Oh, that senile Mr. Feathers. No wonder the penguin population was down this year. Of course, he meant exploring the mind, which of course leads to Scamper walking off while a cheerful song plays.
There's so many things to find. Everything that lies ahead.
Good thing those seagulls are rather patient. Of course, Lolo ends up seeing a ship nearby. That's when the seagulls decide to attack, but they break off when a helicopter flies by. Lolo then runs into a seagull chick, which was cut from the other dub because... Our hero then slides down a hill and finds a husky puppy named Don. He's with a group of researchers, aka the good humans of the story. So while there are bad humans in the form of poachers, there are others who will try to stop them. But on the subject of the humans...
Why, it's a baby penguin.
Oh, don't like that. Don't like that at all. All the animals in this movie have designs that remind me of Studio Sec, although these designs are better. But the humans in this movie, I don't know, don't feel like they belong in the same world as the animals. Anyway, Lolo gets home with the help of the scientist. In the original, Toto scolds his son for not listening, and it leads to him getting spanked. Now, the Australian release of this particular dub cuts out this part, along with a bunch of other things, so here they just skip to Lala comforting their son. The second dub, on the other hand, keeps the scolding but cuts the spanking, which is fine because spanking was a controversial issue at the time. I still think the scolding part should remain, though. The next scene has baby penguins playing together while being watched by Mr. Feathers, who in this version is called Pigo. He warns them of the dangers like the seagulls.
That's why you should always watch that they aren't overhead. And if they attack, then run and hide.
You live on an ice sheet, essentially. Where the hell are they supposed to hide? There's also the orcas who'll eat them, and leopard seals that look more like harbor seals given their shape and color. Oh, but the blue whale is cool. It won't eat them. And the sea lion is friendly too. Just don't wander around its turf.
Let me go! Let me go, I said!
Why do we keep him around? We get more lessons as Lolo almost freezes from falling into water, since they can't swim yet, but this is the end of the first serial film. So far, there's nothing impressive about it. While there's the cute factor, there's not much going on besides a small penguin doing adorable things. That's why it's better to watch the movie as an entire entity instead of having to wait for each part. Otherwise, the second part begins with the adults tired out. Lolo decides to play with Pepe and Don, and the husky even learns to slide around the ice. But wouldn't you know it, here come the seagulls! Damn, he's bleeding now! And yes, this part also appears in the second dub. Probably couldn't avoid it when editing was hard to do in the 80s, but still. Luckily, Don frees himself and tosses the seagull aside. Now Lolo needs medical attention, so Don takes him to his owner.
Oh, ouch! Oh!
I bet it stings, huh?
He looks a little better. From a side view, Lolo returns home and Toto at least realizes that not all humans are bad. But his son still needs to be punished, so you know what that means. Okay, no, that didn't happen. But yeah, at least there are actual adventures now that can result in someone getting hurt. And trust me, it gets a little more extreme later on. But before that, Lolo is left to stare up at the seagulls by himself.
Why weren't you fighting, Lolo?
I'm thinking.
About what?
I'm thinking about birds.
Huh? Grandfather Pigo says we're birds too. Of course we are.
Then why can't we fly like them?
Probably because you aren't a Don Bluth penguin. So Lolo tries to fly, but obviously fails. Then the glacier he's standing on breaks apart, and now he and Pepe are separated from the rest of their group. With Pepe on the verge of tears, how does he respond to her?
You know what? If you cry, I'll just go away.
Wow, what a horrible thing to say! How is that compared to the other dub?
Oh, Snowflake, you should try to look at this as an adventure, okay?
Not as bad? By the way, Scamper is voiced by Cheryl Chase, like if Angelica became Tommy Pickles for a day. Meanwhile, the parents are worried, but it's not really a problem, is it? Just wait for the good humans to come in again and save the day. So while we wait, the kids stare into the ocean and its aquatic life, until a leopard seal shows up. Almost has the same energy as... They try throwing ice into its mouth, but that only does so much. So an orca shows up and chases down the seal. It goes on for a bit, but here's what you see in the first English dub. Of course, the second dub cuts the last part out, but it's not like we see much anyway. No eating animals in this movie! So, that's the end of part 2. A nice cliffhanger, so can the finale take advantage? As part 3 begins, a ship shows up.
We're safe, Pepe.
Who drew those guys? Rob Liefeld? The kids learn quickly that they're dealing with bad humans. They get captured and meet another imprisoned penguin named Mac. Even though he's a different species, he reminds me of Rocco from Pebble and the Penguin.
Silly. Don't you see? You're caught by poachers.
What do you think, Captain?
God, the captain looks like M. Bison. But One Cut does have an old Saint Bernard named Jack, who talks to the group a bunch. I'm sure he'll help. Later. The ship then runs into a storm, and sometime after, in which Lolo gets something to prop open the cage, they escape. They go into the storage room to look for food, and the bad guys learn that our heroes escaped. And once a mouse scares Pepe, that's when the fun really begins.
There they are! Catch them! Quick!
Now, the sequence is fine on its own, but what if we added a song to it?
Don't let them get away! Don't let them get away! Take the long money! Don't let them get away!
We gotta get away, we gotta get away. We're hiding in the zoo, we gotta get away.
Yeah, no, let's not. The kids eventually jump ship, and Jack even drops down a life ring for them.
That was a close shave.
While they still need a way home, they do take the time to learn to swim. After that, the blue whale shows up to help them get home. When they do, they meet up with the adults. They learn that Mac is familyless, so he gets to stay with Lolo, Toto, and Lala. Well, this seems like it could end right now, but it won't. But guess what? The poachers took the rest of the children. Pigo tries to save them, but the poachers just toss him aside. Aren't they supposed to capture all penguins? Why are they just targeting children? But that's not all. Clearly too violent, so that's cut from both dubs. Never mind! I guess Australia couldn't handle it. Lolo is certainly more mature than at the start of the story, but we'll get back to that, because we have a final showdown! Assuming you aren't watching the Australian release of the first dub, because it cuts out most of this battle. And it's very easy to see why, because as the adult penguins charge in, the poachers break out the guns. Holy shit! This is epic. I mean, obviously standards are different for both Japan and Russia, but it's pretty nuts of them to show this much death, including a headshot. The second dub omits any clip that shows death, but the gunfight is still present. And the whole thing ends when a large piece of glacier drops into the water and causes a tidal wave. Now sure, we'll cut out the penguins getting shot, but we'll keep the crew drowning. Also, I don't think Jack survived that. Thanks, Lolo, you ungrateful bastard. Got to love how the second dub suggested that no one actually died from that, because penguins can swim or something. Anyway, Don is sad because it looks like Lolo will not have time for him anymore, though how the scientist refers to it is different depending on the version. The second dub has a more positive mood, but this is how he speaks in the original and first dub.
Your little penguin friend has grown up and now he hasn't got time for you.
Дружок твой пингвиненок уже вырос, и ему не до тебя.
It's like the writers decided that these two no longer mattered, but did they have to say it out loud? Anyway, because Toto is dead, Lolo is made the new leader of the penguins. The second dub actually kept Toto alive, he's just off screen now, but he'll be stepping down as leader soon. Mac is offered a spot in the group, but he decides to find his own flock. And so, the movie ends with the penguins marching toward the North Sea.
Beginning of March in the Antarctic. And the penguins leave their continent and go north, where they stay from April through September, waiting for the long winter to end, when they will return to their homes.
So that was the adventures of Lolo the Penguin. It was interesting to say the least. Despite the cuts made in the Australian release of the first dub, it did follow the original down to a T. And because of that, it's an okay animated movie about a penguin and his coming of age. It's certainly bold to show a bloodbath near the end, and I suppose it's part of that natural progression of danger as one grows up. It's also funny how the second dub tries to tone things down, so it very much resembles something you'd see from Serendipity the Pink Dragon, or any dub for an old anime. Still, while I'm not fond of the human designs, the animals are at least well animated, and there are memorable story moments here and there. But because it was a bit of a slow grind, it's better to see the 3 serial movies all at once. Personally, I'd say it's worth a watch. It's another piece of animation history to show what it could get away with at the time when telling a story about penguins. I'm the Media Hunter. Media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.